Okay. All right. We'll conduct this similar to a committee hearing. So this is a listening informational hearing. But first, I want to make an announcement to member legislators to squeeze in tighter because we have more than this table can fit. So if we can squeeze together, we'll fit more legislators on the table. Yeah. All right. So that will fit Senator Miller. Why don't you come move up to the end too? I'd like to welcome everybody to the New American Forum. This is a listening session, like I said, informational. So we'll conduct this very similar to a committee hearing where the community will come and present, and then after their presentation, then member legislators are allowed to wait for my call, though, allowed to ask questions. Today, our population of New American are well over 600, and some community are doing better than others, and some are more visible than another. So then I thought that it would be a good opportunity to bring those whose voice may not be heard as often. And thank my co-hosts, Representative Rena Moran, Senator Jeff Hayden, Senator Torres Ray, Senator Franson, and Representative Lee, and Representative Ilhan Omar. And as you can see, Representative Lee, Representative Omar, and Senator Torres Ray, and Senator Franson, and myself are members of New Americans community. And there's 5 of us already serving this legislature here, and so that tells a lot about our emerging community. So let's see, before we move on further and save this time to hear more from the community, I want to set a little rule. Like I stated earlier, let's see, we'll hold this similar to any hearings, and I'd like to encourage those who may not be on the list to testify. There's a sign-up sheet that you can sign up, and we'll call you up after those who already put their name in place. And okay, and I asked the testifier mainly just to present, and don't ask us legislators too much question. It's us wanting to know about your community, and it's our opportunity to ask you questions. So okay, I noted down what I need to say here. So I would prefer that we're not using this hearing to debate on some subject or make acquisition remark on each other or be opinionated on the structure of this. You know, we save that for after the hearing because we had limited time. We had about 2 hours, and this is recorded too, from what I gather, for future records. And so then here we go. Before that, restroom is on the west end of the building for those who are new to this building. So good enough here. Well, okay, so next I'd like to go through the panelists over here to introduce ourselves quickly and tell us what the district you represent and your name. And so start from my co-host here. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Representative Rena Moran. I represent District 65A. That's right, we have a special process here. Representative Rena Moran, representing St. Paul District 65A, which is the Rondo community, the Midway, Frogtown, a little part of Cathedral Hill in the North End. Glad to be here and glad to see you here.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Mary Kunish-Podine. I represent District 41B, which is Columbia Heights and Hilltop, the southern half of New Brighton, and then St. Anthony Village. Thank you all for being here.
And before we proceed further, after you're done, make sure you turn off your mic so it doesn't echo. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Bill Weber, District 22. I represent all or parts of 9 counties in the southwest corner of Minnesota. Thank you for hosting this, and I do need to give an apology because I do need to take off a little earlier, so I will apologize in advance.
Hello, Senator Jim Abler from Anoka. I'm really glad you're all here. Hello, I am Representative Lori Pryor. I represent 48A, which is the southern part of Minnetonka and the northern part of Eden Prairie. And I look forward to hearing from you this evening and learning. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Representative Fu Lee, representing District 59A in North Minneapolis.
Paul Thiessen, Minneapolis.
Representative Joanne Ward, South Maplewood, South Oakdale, parts of Woodbury, and all of Landfall. And I thank you for being here. I'm interested in learning.
Good afternoon. I'm Senator Susan Kent, and I represent Joanne Ward's district as well as the rest of Woodbury. And I also am really grateful for your being here and contributing to this conversation.
Good afternoon, Senator Melissa Franzen. I represent Senate District 49, which is Edina, West Bloomington, Eden Prairie, Minnetonka. Thank you for being here.
Senator Sandy Pappas from St. Paul, and I am the senator for Rena Moran and Carlos Mariani. I'm in St. Paul.
I'm John Hoffman from Senate District 36, which is Brooklyn Park, Champlin, and Coon Rapids.
And I'm Carolyn Lane, senator from Columbia Heights, St. Anthony, Fridley, and New Brighton area.
I'm Jeremy Miller. I represent Senate District 28, which includes Winona, Houston, and Fillmore counties in the southeastern corner of the state.
I am Patricia Torres-Ray, and I represent South Minneapolis and part of Richfield in the Minnesota Senate.
I'm Melissa Wickland, and I represent Senate District 50, and that's most of Bloomington and most of Richfield.
Muy buenas tardes, Carlos Mariani, Minnesota House Rep 65B, and you're actually sitting in my district here in St. Paul. Thank you.
Senator Chris Eaton, I represent Brooklyn Center and the southern part of Brooklyn Park.
Good afternoon. I'm Connie Bernardi, and I represent the communities of New Brighton, Fridley, and Spring Lake Park.
Glad to be here. Glad to see everyone here. Fantastic turnout. I'm State Senator Scott Dibble. I represent Senate District 61, which is most of southwest Minneapolis, sliver of downtown, and some of South Minneapolis as well. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen Clark, State Representative for 3 inner-city neighborhoods of Minneapolis, Whittier, Stevens Square, and Phillips neighborhood, and a little bit of Potterhorn Park, and thank you all for being here.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm State Representative Frank Hornstein. I represent parts of downtown and southwest Minneapolis. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Frentz, and I'm the state senator from District 19, which is Mankato, my hometown of North Mankato, St. Peter, and the rest of Nicollet County, and I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for coming.
I'm Dan Hall. I'm the senator from Burnsville, Savage, and Lakeville. Welcome.
Okay, we have one more senator just finding her seat, and but before we get her to her introduction, I wonder if there's any commissioner that are among us. Maybe we can use this time for you to introduce yourself. You can stand where you are, or you can come down to the mic and just say who you are and you're a commissioner of which department. Okay, any commission? Okay, yes. And any other elected official that are joining us tonight? Okay, now.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. Senator Carla Nelson from Olmsted County, Rochester, Chatfield, Dover, Yoda, Stewartville, and Stewartville.
Okay. And again, I'd like to thank all member legislators that are showing up tonight. And
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
May I just give a shout out very quickly to Maplewood City Councilman Tu Zhang?
Oh, yes. Tu Zhang, yeah, right there. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Kent. And thank you all legislators for coming, joining us on the listening session, and the community as well. And as community member, we sometimes wonder whether our elected officials are listening to us or not. And by the show number here today, show that they're very interested in listening to us, and we just need to bring your voice forward. So here we are. Let's start with first on the list here to come up and present yourself, Ms. Sia Her. Yes. And Ms. Yeher, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, and go ahead with your testimony.
All right. Do I call you Mr. Chair or?
Mr. Chair will be just fine. And before you go on further, I want to give this opportunity to let our representative introduce herself too.
Hello, I haven't been in this room before. Hello, everyone. My name is Representative Ilhan Omar, and I represent Minneapolis' District 60B. An honor to be here. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, Ms. Herr, please state your name for the record, and you may present.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sia Herr, and I am the Executive Director at the Council on Aging Pacific Minnesotans. I recognize that there is a small number of brand new legislators at this table, but for the most part, I recognize lots of very familiar faces. And so you may have heard me say this in committee before, but what I'll do is I'll just give you a quick overview of the Council on Aging Pacific Minnesotans. I am also looking at, before I start with that overview, I'm looking at two legislative board members on my board, Representative Joanne Ward and Senator Caroline Lane. Just a simple word of thank you to both of you, because whether we have ever said it publicly or not, it takes a lot of heart, a lot of time, and a lot of commitment on the part of you as legislative members to be on our boards and to actually carry out your responsibilities as board members in a meaningful manner. So thank you. So the Asian Council, most of you or some of you may know that the council was created in 1985, and in fact, I was doing some research and prep for some other speeches that I'm going to give, and so in my research, I came across the fact that the laws of 1985 here in the state of Minnesota, the first special session, Chapter 13, Section 68, is what provided the language that paved the way for the creation of the Asian Council in 1985. Now, the Asian Council is the youngest of the 5 state advisory councils. When the Asian Council was created in 1985, Minnesota's population was mostly white. I believe that the Asian population at that time was less than 1%. I believe the actual number was about 26,000 strong. Now, in 1985, what some of you may or may not think about is the fact that 1985 is about a decade after 1975, which for the Southeast Asian American community signifies the fall of Vietnam, South Vietnam to communism, and of course the fall of Laos to communism as well. And so in the late 70s and early 80s, we saw a high number of refugees coming in from Southeast Asia. We're talking about the Hmong, the Lao, the Vietnamese, and the Cambodians, because of course the Khmer Rouge fell in 1979, and in the aftermath of that, we also saw an influx of our Cambodian community. And so, Minnesota, a primarily white community with very little knowledge of refugees as immigrants, started seeing these dramatic demographic changes in cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul. And so it's my understanding from some board members, some community board members who helped and was part of the advocates who made way for the creation of the Asian Council. It was my understanding that they took it upon themselves to approach the legislature and to say, state government needs to have an understanding of the realities of these new communities. And so, given that we already have the Black Council and the Latino Council, why don't we also create the Asian Council? And so that's a little bit of a background for you as to how the Asian Council came about. Now, the Asian Council, I believe in 1985, the statute was 3.9226. That statute experienced some revisions over the years, and some of those changes were primarily around the makeup of the board. So in 1985, the board was about 13 people strong. The latest revision made to the statute, and I call it statute, but for the purpose of the community members who are in the audience, the enabling statute is the mission statement of the Asian Council. So in that enabling statute, we are told what our duties, what our responsibilities are. Now, when I came on board as executive director in 2013, March, we were still operating with Minnesota Statute 3.9226, and at that time, our board could be up to 23 members, 4 of which would be appointed by legislative leadership from the House and then from the Senate. And so at that time, the language the language that we used to talk about the role and responsibilities of the Asian Council was that the council wears 3 hats. When it comes before you as lawmakers, we are an advocate for our communities. When we go before the communities, we are your advocate. The goal here being that as we are interacting between the 2 of you as 2 key constituencies for us, that we are building bridges, that we're facilitating conversations so that you as lawmakers can create public policies that reflect the realities of our communities, and in doing so, lift up the voices of those who may not often be heard or seen by you. We hope that as we're doing our work, that we're educating you about what looks like good politics to our communities. And so at the Asian Council, I just want to put out there before I delve into the makeup of the community, we believe that good politics go hand in hand with good public policies, and that at the end of the day, good governance is a result. It's a derivative of those 2 components. And so having said all of that, let me just share with you a little bit about the community that we seek to represent. In 2012, the American Census indicated or said that the Asian American community here in the state of Minnesota has outpaced the Hispanics in terms of being the fastest growing ethnic group. We are estimated to be about 260,000 strong. 84+% of us reside within the 7-county metro area. Our largest communities are the Hmong. Well, I should just point out 2 since I don't want to make a mistake by identifying the 3rd to the 5th. But our largest 2 communities are the Hmong and the Asian Indian, and they're very, very interesting. And even though they're just 2 of the more than 40 groups that fall under the umbrella of the Asian Council, they speak to the complexities of the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. The Hmong community is the largest community. It's estimated to be at least 70,000 strong. It is a refugee community. The Hmong started arriving here after the fall of Laos to communism, and many of you may already know the story of the Secret War. Now, our Asian Indian community is an immigrant community. That is our most affluent community, and that community is estimated to be about 46,000 strong. So these are 2 communities that begin to tell the story of why Minnesota's Asian American and Pacific Islander community is so unique. Unlike any other state's Asian American and Pacific Islander community, Minnesota's community is a majority refugee experience, meaning that our Vietnamese, our Hmong, our Lao, our Cambodian, and our Karen make up more than 50% of the Asian American and Pacific Islander community here in the state of Minnesota, and you have heard me talk in committees about why that is important for you to know as policymakers, particularly when we get to talking about the challenges and the opportunities for our community. I would also highlight the fact that you're going to be hearing from members of 3 of our newest, our emerging communities this afternoon. The Asian Council has a very interesting mission in that it works with such a diverse community. In fact, our community is the most diverse of all the groups. And so I think I've gone on and on about the role of the council as well as the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Obviously, I've been around for a while, so I have a lot of information in my head. But I see Senator Herr shaking his head, meaning that's probably time for me to be done.
Thank you, Ms. Herr. And as a chair, I also am a timekeeper as well. So we're going to give each testifier about 10 minutes to speak. And I would like to ask the member legislator to hold your question to the asking the council for later. We want you to ask the communities, and then if there's no data that the community presenter don't have, then the council can provide that, can be a supplement information based. So I also want to acknowledge that the Chicano Latino Council is also here with us, and staff from the Indian Fair Council is also here with us too.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I wonder, instead of having each one come up afterwards, if they could answer one question for me, which would be, in one sentence, what's the most important thing you want us to know about your community?
And Mr. Chair, we have two new representatives joining us right now.
Okay.
Including our minority leader, Melissa.
Sure, yes. I'll let them introduce themselves. And can you come up to the podium and just introduce yourself so everybody can hear you or somewhere hold the mic? And Senator Hall, I think each testifier will be equipped to provide you that information. The basic flow chart that we give to each presenter is that tell us where they're from and where their community are located and geographically in Minnesota and what their needs are. So those are the basic questions that we give it to them for each community to talk about. And then if there's a more question from legislator, then they will be open to that. So now let's go to, let me see, Ms. Hurd, thank you. And let's go on to our newly arrival. Just introduce yourself and where you represent, then you find a seat somewhere in front up here.
Hi, I'm Melissa Hortman, and I represent Brooklyn Park and Coon Rapids, and welcome to the state capitol. It's nice to see everybody.
Go ahead, Representative.
Hi, Senator. I'm Leon Lilly, represent North St. Paul, Maplewood, and Oakdale, right over here in the East Metro, and thank you for inviting us, and welcome.
Okay, well, thank you. And
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator.
I'm going to have to pre-apologize too, just like Senator Weber. I'm going to have to leave before the forum concludes, so I don't want anyone to think I'm stomping out in a huff. No. I'm very interested, and we'll go back and find out all the information that gets communicated today. Thanks.
Thank you. And if any legislator have to leave, do it discreetly if you can. Okay. Next on the agenda is overview from African American Community, Executive Director of the Council of Minnesota African Heritage. So please introduce yourself and for the record. Then you may proceed with the testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Louis Porter, Executive Director of the Council for Minnesotans of African Heritage. And I unfortunately, I'll often have to follow my colleague, Ms. Herr, so you're a tough act to follow, but I'll try. I also see some of my board and former board members, Representative Moran, whom I often call day and night, and who's always there, always takes my calls, and Senator Hall. Both of you, thank you for your wise counsel. The Council of Minnesotans of African Heritage was founded in 1980, and over the years, the council did many things, including, and we still get questions about this, the Martin Luther King holiday, which is now done out of the governor's office. With the 2015 enabling statute, though, we really focused in on being advisors to the governor and the legislature on behalf of people of African heritage. That's all people of African heritage, not just African Americans who've been here for many generations, but all the way, including all immigrants from African heritage countries. And our motto now is together towards a more equitable state. What we're doing today, I believe, is both you all as legislators and we as councils, it represents the very essence of what we do, that is listening. And I hope that this will be a time for us to listen and to enhance those relationships and to make more connections and to continue to listen and try to meet the needs. Last session, the Council for Minnesotans of African Heritage, working with the United Black Legislative Agenda, was able to obtain $35 million for education and economic development, $2 million for a Somali job training program, youth training program, stiffer penalties for hate crimes, and as well as holding off on the opening of private prisons. Some of those things we continue to fight for this session. The council itself is focusing on two main areas, being education, including the Teachers of Color legislation, as well as employment, though we decided those would be our areas of focus for this year. Thousands of African immigrants have landed in Minnesota after fleeing political persecution, civil war, or simply seeking opportunity. The immigrants represent at least 25 countries in Africa, making Minnesota home to the 9th largest African community in the country. At least 73,000 African immigrants call Minnesota home, according to a federal 2012 study. With U.S.-born children and recent immigrants included, advocates with the African Development Center of Minnesota say the true number could exceed 150,000. About 1 in 5 immigrants in Minnesota is African. Of the 50 states, Minnesota has the 9th largest population of African immigrants. About 60% come from East African nations, such as Somalia, Ethiopia, and 25% from West African nations, such as Nigeria and Liberia. Immigrants make up about 8% of Minnesota's population, a smaller but more diverse group than in the past compared to the U.S. as a whole. Until the 1970s, most immigrants coming to Minnesota hailed from Western Europe, but we know how much that has changed. Minnesota has a much larger proportion of Asian and African immigrants than the nation. For example, 22% of our foreign-born residents are from Africa, compared to 5% nationally. Overall, the employment rates for immigration mirrors the state, but poverty rates are higher. That is a challenge to all of us. Minnesota has the nation's largest Somali community, which you will hear from later. Many who fled the long civil war in their East African country were drawn to the state's welcoming social programs. Census numbers put the state Somali's population at about 40,000, but community activists have said it's higher. Liberians in Minnesota, although there is no accurate or official record, the African Development Center estimates about 35,000 Liberians reside in Minnesota. The OCIM estimates that up to 40,000 Oromo people are living in Minnesota, but the state demographer's office comes up with a much lower figure of 8,500. So we'll say it's somewhere between the two. These facts and these figures only bring home the need to work together, to listen, and to work together towards a more equitable state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. So now we're gonna move to our community members, and you testifiers from community members don't have to speak as fast as Ms. Her or Mr. Porter. Take your time, okay? Let's see. Next is Burmese American community. So if you Mr. Kadiwada, so can you please step up? And being that I've been here for some 40 years, and my tongue are as stiff as Minnesotan. Sometimes we had tough time pronouncing new names, so please help us with the pronunciation as well. Okay.
Senator Her, could we just introduce another representative?
Oh, yes, and go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Representative Dave Pinto from St. Paul. I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you to our host for putting this together.
Okay, so Mr. Kadiwoda, can you please state your name and tell us who you are, and go ahead with your testimony.
Honorable Chair and members of States and House, I am Parmananda Khatioda. I represent Witness American Community in Minnesota. I am the current board chair of community organization that's running, and I also wear other hats. I'm an adjunct faculty at Augsburg College, and I'm also a MSW field social work director, instructor at University of Minnesota School of Social Work, and also Augsburg College. I also work as a social worker with Family in Transition, which is an independent contractor for child protection cases in different counties. I came to Minnesota with my family in 2008, October, and then went back to University of Minnesota for my social work degree. I used to be a high school principal, but for us, when you come to this country, USA means you start again. So I tried to start again as a social worker because I thought I'll be able to contribute most in this particular field. And then I continued, and I'm also a current PhD student at the Organizational Leadership and Policy Development, University of Minnesota, with the program evaluation track. So having said that, I have been working with Witness American Community in Minnesota for since I arrived here. Along with all my community members, we have been able to build a small nonprofit organization that is supporting the people who are marginalized and who are not as privileged as myself or so many other people who can speak the language and all. And to say or introduce the community, Bhutanese community in Minnesota came from a country, a very, very tiny Himalayan country between China and India called Bhutan, which is popularly today known as the land of gross national happiness, but here we are, a byproduct of such a gross national happiness. I don't know, gross national happiness. I always try to say it's not gross national happiness, gross national happiness. So that's what it is. And in the country, it was ruled by absolute monarchy at that particular time, and due to they adopted a policy called ethnic one people, one nation, which is basically an ethnic cleansing policy, and they persecuted people from different faiths, predominantly Hindu, practicing Hindu faith, and about 100,000 people were rendered refugees in early 1990s. And we lived in UNHCR managed camps in eastern Nepal for almost 17 years, and about 85,000 have already been resettled in United States, out of which around 1,600 to 1,700, I think one of the smallest communities in Minnesota, I think, are resettled in Twin Cities. And after having started to be resettled in 2008, and people started living here, now we are developing ourselves into a vibrant community. There are a lot of nurses, and we have a couple of doctors, dentists, and business owners. All those things are happening, and we're trying to build the community from scratch down, supporting the community members who are not as fortunate and as privileged to bring everybody up. And with that, our community has a lot of issues because it's a new, very, very new community. And with the size of the community, as I've already mentioned to you, it's 1,600 to 1,700. We always get drowned in the whole big ocean, and we always, our voice doesn't get heard in a way other bigger communities would be. With that, Asian Council has been really gracious to reach out to us and include our voice. And we have also reached out to many House of Representatives and senators in the process, and we have tried our best to get our voice heard. And few of the, that's one part of the issue. The other part of the issues are we have elders. This community is a very unique community in a sense. It doesn't have a well-established basis of support system within the country because of its newness. So elders who are, we have Christians, Hindus, and Buddhists. Christians have churches to go to churches on different blocks, and we also have Buddhists, and we have a temple down there who go there. But Hindus do not have a temple here within the traveling distance. We have a Maplegrove Hindu temple, which is quite a drive, and it is always a challenge to drive older adults. And older adults live in the houses whole day, and they don't have anything to do. So that has started to toll on their mental health. And one of the biggest problem all over the country is with the mental health issue of among the Bhutanese community. There has been the highest rate of suicide among Bhutanese community. It's almost around 24%, which is double the national rate in United States. So we also had to face one death to a young man of 30 years old who took his life last year here in the Twin Cities, and we're trying our best. We have a psychiatrist in the community, even though it's a small community. We try to reach out to these families, and I am a social worker, so we try doing that as much as possible. But again, because of the size of the community, to try to get the resources always been a challenge, because the question is going to be, why don't you join hands with other existing community? But then there are other issues like culturally appropriate language. Interpreting becomes a very big thing, and when interpreting happens with especially the older adults, many things get lost in the way, and the challenges of taking these problems to the providers becomes a challenge. So it's a big issue. And We would, and with the House of Representatives and other big organizations, we would really appreciate if whenever there are possibilities to include our voice, invite us to this kind of forum so that we can make our case and build our community to be a vibrant community, a contributing community in our community here in Minnesota. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Katiwara. Before I encourage a question from the listeners, I'd like to have 3 new arriving senators to introduce themselves. Yes, go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Ralph. I'm state senator from St. Cloud area. That's District 14. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I'm Senator Paul Gazelka. I'm the majority leader from the Brainerd Lakes area, which is central Minnesota.
Okay, any question from listener, from member legislator?
John Marty's here.
Oh, and
Why don't you just
yep. Okay. Any question from listener to Mr. Katiwara? I do have a question, and maybe you can tell us, like, before you arrived, your community lived in a camp for
17 years, and there are around 20,000 still in the camp, and because of the current policy of the current administration, the process has been stalled, as we all know, and there hasn't been anybody coming, but there are some people been resettled in other countries like Canada and New Zealand and Australia, Europe, all those places. So technically, since 1991 through current date, there are people still living there.
Okay. Any question from members? Okay, Representative Moran.
So just for clarity, I heard one of the issues in your community is mental health, and there was another issue. What was the other issues in your community?
Mental health. Mm-hmm. And elders. Elders do not have, elders predominantly, especially the Hindu elders, they don't have a temple or praying place around the place where they can reach and do their praying together. We're trying to build that too. We have a Wednesday support group through Witness American organization, and we gather them, try to pray, and we have partnered with many churches. One of the churches that we have been able to partner is Rose Hill Church as Roseville, and they have been gracious enough to let us the room, so we teach them citizenship classes, English classes, and all that. And on top of that, we also try to do all those cultural and religious processes there. So it's a interesting match and a good way of getting to know the bigger community there.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Katiwara. We'll move on to the next community, the Oromo American community. Is president of Oromo Community Minnesotan, so Mr. Wacko. And even if I already call your name, do state your name for the record and maybe give us a little closer pronunciation to your name as well.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Teshire Wako, spelled as T-E-S-H-I-T-E, last name W-A-K-O. I have a PowerPoint quickly to go through, but before that, I just would like to recognize and thank my representative, Melissa, and Senator John. Thank you so much. And I really thank every House of Representatives and Majority Leader being here, and House of Representatives who have really make your time to come and listen to this. And thank you so much, Senator. I also would like to recognize behind me the Oromo Community board members who are here. Our Vice President of the community is here. The Executive Director is here. And also there are board members from Oromo Chamber of Commerce. And My city assistant manager is here behind me, actually. She'll be speaking later, so I want to.
Well, Mr. Wacko is still looking at that detail. You ready? I also want to repeat what I said earlier about if any of you are interested in adding on to the testimony, there's a sign-up sheet back there, so you can put your name there, and we'll call on you after the testimony. And especially those community that are not on the list for testifier, we really encourage to hear from your community as well. Should so you want to continue, or you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Mr. White,
Sorry about the time. I just would like to start with who the Oromo people are. The Oromo people are the largest ethnic group in the country of Ethiopia, and we are the largest in the country, representing more than 40% of the whole population. But the country is currently led by 3% of the whole population in the country. As a result of change in the country since 1991, Oromos have persecuted and fled all of the countries. Today, there is very few countries around the world where Oromos are not. And we are largely in neighboring countries and in other countries who have accepted as a refugee, thanks to the United States, Canada, Europe, and Australia, who has accepted Oromos from refugee camps. Coming to Minnesota, we are 40,000, estimated 40,000 Oromos residing in the state of Minnesota, and majority of them in three main municipalities, particularly St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Brooklyn Park. And we are also in many other places like Woodbury, Eden Prairie, Lakeville, Minnetonka, Rochester, and this community is really a hard-working community. And as most of my fellow Oromo community people characterize it, it is highly educated but underutilized community in the state of Minnesota. The Oromo community was established in 1985. We are over 30 years. We have our own center that the community raised funds from its own and purchased at 465 McCabe Avenue. Actually, our representative, Rina Moran, is here from that area. We provide social service, employment service, and elder programs, youth programs. We are, happy to say the healthy society that we have. Really, our youth is so healthy. Our community is so hardworking and really participate in so many things. And you might see a doctor back home driving a taxi here. Very hardworking, that level. For any work is for us, we take it on and we work hard. Just briefly to talk about problems here. Maybe come back to that a little bit to talk about what's happening all over the world on Oromo people. While we are the largest in terms of population and resources in East Africa, because of our own foreign policy under successive both Democratic and Republican government presidents in the United States, Oromos became a subject of impact in Ethiopia. because the tiny minority in the country, under the auspices of we take care of East Africa, we do everything for you, don't ask us about our human rights records. They have continually abused the trust and the money that is given to them. And in 2014 alone, United States has given $664 million, according to USAID records, to the country of Ethiopia. On March 9th, 2017, in the U.S. House of Representatives, there was a hearing by Congressman Christopher Smith, where the truth came out, and the United States House of Representatives and the Senate has reached to the level of understanding what's happening in the country. And to that effect, the Minnesota Senate and House actually passed a resolution supporting Oromo people in 2014, because there are so many who have demonstrated here in front of the Capitol, expressing their feelings because they have families, fathers, mothers, kids, young people dying. And you might have watched also the 2016 Reno Olympic Marathon, where one of the Oromo Olympic medalists, Fayisa Lelisa, crossed a sign of solidarity with Oromo people to expose the human rights records of abusive governments, including Ethiopia, all over the world at that stage. Oromos come from that background. That's why we are hardworking people here. However, we have so many challenges at the community. We are, first of all, self-reliant, hardworking. Oftentimes, we get challenged of identity issues at the school system, at legislator levels, in the community, at the city hall. We are, lump sum as East African and non-known. And when incident happens to an Oromo kid, it takes maybe 3, 4, 5 days for us to struggle to correct the media to call it that's an Oromo kid. And that is a challenge we have. And we would like to be known as Oromo community of Minnesota, Oromos from East Africa. And we don't want to be fighting to identify ourselves. And we need to be known by that. We have issues in terms of we provide employment, social service, elder services at the community. But oftentimes, because of this lack of recognition or us not having much voice, oftentimes not getting the fair share of what we should to support ourselves and our community. We were not part of the equity funding in 2015, 2016. Our businesses in 2014, I was so happy that our 2 senators were there when we established Oromo Chamber of Commerce. There are great business owners, hardworking people participating in the school bus transportation or medical field or in restaurants all over the city. But oftentimes, we don't get much needed support. We pay taxes, we comply, hardworking, like I said, very healthy society, but oftentimes because we don't have that voice, we don't come out and speak, or we don't, cause any trouble.
Yeah. Well,
so we need to be really be supportive of that. We have people of potential to sit on the commission seats, where oftentimes we give our names that we need. We have difficulty in the school system when Oromo kids are trying to be identified as Oromo, having an Oromo flag, they are told otherwise. And that is particularly in so many schools. We have witnessed those that we need. Languages and other barriers we have, particularly our elders who are here, when they go to their medical appointment, they have to wait long. They have to, there is no, in the county system, Hennepin County, in the county system, it's long waiting for them to get a person who translates for them or give them appropriate medication. And so these are the issues we have, and we need to be, again, thank you so much for your interest of giving us opportunity. I had a PowerPoint that we will make part of the records that technology didn't work. We have still a refugee issue where we have appealed to the governor to open a refugee in Kenya. There are a lot of Oromos still residing there. We have a problem in that regard. We have also, oftentimes, while we are far away from the country, we get traumatized here when the Ethiopian government officials come to this country and hire our police officers and host an event while we are wounded and we are far away from that. And there is something that we think need to be done. And I really appreciate for the opportunity, for the time, and I look forward to follow up if there is any question or an opportunity arises.
Sure. Any members here have a question for Mr. Wacko? Representative Moran.
So I just want to thank you for being here today. With our conversations, I've learned that one of the biggest issues that the Oromo community do have is that, one, you are very quiet, and your presence is not known because often enough you are seen as Somali, and you're not Somali. And often enough when you go to the county and other departments and need an interpreter, there's not enough Oromo interpreters present, and usually they send you a Somali interpreter, which the language is different. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Representative Moran, that's perfectly true. My mom doesn't speak English, and I take her, and she gets somebody else. And we have to wait. Look, me working in a demanding job as a chief financial officer, taking time from my job, dropping her there to get proper translation, not to misrepresent. And she has to wait, we have to wait an hour, half, like that. And it happened to so many elders who doesn't have a person maybe like me who can give a ride to the medical appointment. So those are the key problems. Identity issue is one, and there is, there are documents after documents in terms of, for example, one of the city mayor coming out and I'm establishing East African team. That's not really East African team, and it has to be corrected. There is a correctness of what that represents is missing, and we don't want to be missed, and we don't want to be also mischaracterized. So.
Yes, Representative Pryor.
Thank you. So just as a comment, I will guarantee you, tonight, the CEO of Hennepin County Medical Center will know about your problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The guy with the flashlights.
I'm sitting with the flashlight. You're looking right at me. It's just, hi, how you doing? So, Tashidi, nice. Thank you for being here and talking about the what it's like to be here and to be Oromo and to see what's happening around us and ask the questions that I don't understand why this or why that. And I think you've done so much to enlighten me about human rights violations that I was just telling the senators sitting next to me how I still get moved by the fact of what happened in 2014, and that's just something that is is here with us, and we need to continually say to ourselves, we can do better and we will do better. And I just want to thank you for always enlightening me and educating me about that. The other thing I want to say is telling your story about the struggles as business owners. You know, we have a huge, and one is in transportation we have, and this cuts across the board in a lot of different cultural groups, is within transportation. There are some rules and regulations that are in place that are stopping organizations like MTN Transportation or Omar's Transportation or Oromio Transportation or the transportation we have with the Laos community, but specifically in here that there's barriers there that don't allow businesses like I just mentioned within the Oromo community to get contracts or get jobs. And it's almost like there's an extra hill that's been put in place. And for the life of me, for the last 5 years, I've been trying to figure that one out. And I would hope that we could also take a look at that, because when you're taking somebody on a non-emergency medical visit place, you know, the companies will say, well, yeah, well, we understand. Well, no, you don't understand, because you're not from that part of the world. You're not from that part of the nation that it is. You don't know the difference between, you know, somebody from Punta Land and somebody who is actually from Oromia within, you know, I mean, there's two different countries we're just talking about there. But and sometimes that desensitization or desensitized that occurs really needs to be looked at. And I would hope that under our own non-emergency medical transportations that we would take a look at that. And speaking of like MTN, Oromo, that is a large transportation bus company within Minnesota that has become not only that, but a jobs creator. Hundreds of people have jobs because of one man's dream and his family. Matter of fact, his brother's sitting in the front row right there. So it's like, you know, those are the things we celebrate, and we celebrate Oromo, and I thank you for doing that. But I sure hope we can take a look at some of the transportation. And yes, Faisha.
Right. If I may say, Senator, a few words as the president of the Oromo Chamber of Commerce. I just want to thank also a special dear friend of mine who is amongst us, Dr. Bruce Corey, who try to really capitalize on the power that we bring, the resources that we bring. We are the engine of this. You know, I printed some information to show on the PowerPoint how much we have contributed. The strength of Minnesota economy came from immigrants contributing really to this. You know, if you see the inner city circle, how much we have contributed. And oftentimes we get challenged with getting a contract, whether that contract is with a school district, whether the contract is with the medical insurance companies. The bureaucracy to talk to somebody is challenging. I have received a letter most recently from an adult daycare provider who was, to the level of being threatened not to speak again, don't write again, don't call again. I mean, to that level of not being open, it became much, really bureaucratic, and there's no way of opening the opportunity. If you open the opportunity, everybody compete, and it's a merit-based. It's a performance-based. But oftentimes, this bureaucratic process that really make it our businesses particularly difficult to compete for the available services in the state of, in the city, particularly school districts and otherwise in the medical field. The other is lack of capital. Lack of capital is another thing which is hindering businesses from getting access to capital so that they can grow their business. They are the first to create job for their community, to hire somebody whom they know, who is at other side of, and taking somebody off government assistance, basically, contributing to the economy by doing so and paying taxes. So that's really great, and I thank you for that, Senator.
Well, thank you, Mr. Waiko. If anyone has a question to Mr. Waiko or to the Oromo American community, you can save your question for the later part, and Mr. Waiko is still going to be here with us. Next, let's have members from the Caribbean American community. Executive Director of Caring Organization, Mr. Taku. Yes, Representative Bernardi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Or Senator Herr. I just wanted to mention we have a new commissioner, or a commissioner who just entered the room, and if we could have Commissioner Lindsay introduce himself, that would be great.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Okay, Mrs. Taku, welcome.
Hi, my name is Etaku, but I asked my board chair to present on behalf of Korean community.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Sajun Dian, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and all the representatives. So my name is Sajun Dian, and I come here to speak on behalf of Korean communities. So as my background, I came to Minnesota in 2001 with my families. And in the last 7 years, I've been working with St. Paul Public Schools in different roles and capacities. So right now I work at the Central District Office as a community liaison. So in St. Paul Public Schools, we have nearly 3,000 Korean-speaking students. And my affiliation with Korean Organization of Minnesota, KOM, is I serve as a board chair. And also in the audience, we have a member of our community leaders and members, and they are here to observe and to also share their stories. And if you have time, later on, you can, talk to them as well. So earlier, before the session began, I look around the room, talk to people, and I realize, many of us share a lot of similarities. We may come from, various country origins, but I believe the main reason we're here is because we escaped, the persecutions and the civil war back in our home country. Burma, is a country located between Thailand, China, and India. So these are very strategic countries. But the civil war has been ongoing since 1949 to the present days. And I have no doubt that, the war and persecution still traumatize many of our community members in this state. At present, the political instability and military campaign in Burma still force thousands of ethnic minorities to flee their homes. So why we resettle in Minnesota? It is definitely not because we are obsessed with snow or winter or seasonal allergy. So the main reason is because strong communities who came here before us, who established something before us. For example, we have Hmong communities who came here as refugees, already paved the way for us. So it's almost like, in analogy, they plant the seed, we get the shades, and I believe, our children will reap the fruits. So thank you for, the community who came before us. And then current, communities start, coming to Minnesota in late 90s. And before 2004, there were a small, numbers of families who came here, and they organized themselves and asked, the people who come to this state, to this city. And after 2004, we have grown dramatically. And at present, we are located mainly in St. Paul and suburbs, Maplewood and Roseville. And we also have a sizable of, our community in greater Minnesota, in cities such as Austin, Edward Lee, Worthington, Marshall, Wilmar, all those cities. And overall, we are in Minnesota, we have about, 12,000 current in numbers. And some of the community issue or concern, here we have healthcare, housing, employment, education, or what we consider, something essential. So with the healthcare, we are looking at, culturally responsive practices and healthcare education to providers, interpreters, and patients. We also see a growing number of, community members who experience stress and mental health. And then there's not enough service or, relevant service providing to them. And with the housing, we have two issues. First is affordable housing for newcomers. We realize that many of our community who came here have a background of living together in one household. And here with the housing rules and regulation, oftentimes, family cannot live together in apartments. And it's create a challenge for the families. At the same time, renting a house is expensive, whereas only a father will work and earn the money, and it's not enough to pay for the housing. So, housing is a big issue for the newcomers. At the same time, others who've been here close to a decade, and they are starting to thinking about owning a home. So, housing. Ownership education or training workshop in a language-specific relevance that will really help our community members. Regardless, we will buy a house, but then to be a responsible homeowner and to know all those rules and regulations, I think we really need to have a strong beginnings. And employment is another issue. We want to have. Because our community members are located in St. Paul area, mainly St. Paul and Roseville, Maplewood, if it's possible, we want to have our community members to have a job where it's in a driving distance, like maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. But then it is kind of challenge too to find a job. Another issue with employment will be small business opportunities. We realize there are resources out there, but then it did not really reach our community yet, or maybe because we are not active, in seeking, so we miss out all those opportunities. So the opportunity to give to our community will be truly appreciated. And the next issue will be education. We came here as refugees, so many of our students did not have a formal education, or they have interrupted education. So creating an opportunity and providing a service for SLIFE students or EL students, that will really help our children. And also we have seen that many of our young people who graduate from high school, they are not well prepared to go beyond. So they are neither going to workforce or college, post-secondary, education. They are in the middle of nowhere. So having the resources to provide to them during high school, even like having a vocational training that would give them, a meaningful, work, whether, it is a short term or long term, that will really help our young people. Otherwise, we have been seeing like the increasing number of our young people getting into gangs and addicted to, drug and alcohol and, becoming violent because of those stress and of those uncertainty. Many of our young people almost feel like they lost purpose in their life because they are experiencing a language barrier, they are experiencing lack of resources, they don't know what the future is. Depending on the welfare, it's like a stigma. It's almost seems like you are lazy people, so people don't want to go to welfare either. So life is in the limbo with people in our communities. So, and then another issue will be public safety. We are asking for language-specific driver permit test so that at least our community will be able to study and pass the test legally. Otherwise, public safety will be a big issue. Our communities, whether they have a driver license, a permit or not, they will drive because they have to go to work. If they don't go to work, they will lose their job. So they will drive regardless. But how are we going to support them to drive legally, to understand all the rules? I think we need language-specific curriculum that will support our communities. And last, I just want to share that, hobbies, outdoor activities. We've been in our country. We can go out in the woods, in the forest, and shoot any animals, but not here. It's considered poaching. And then many of our community members been cited because they've been shooting a squirrel limitless, somewhere, or fishing limitless. So we need education, on that, and also more and more of our community members, because we came with a background of hunting, starting carrying the gun and start going to the woods and hunt. So it would be good to have even law officer or conservative officer to who speak the language or who understand the language. So yeah, and also we've been seeing the increasing, as I mentioned earlier, recreational drug or domestic violence is increasing as well. And in the state of Minnesota, we have not seen any domestic abuse group, men domestic abuse group like language specific yet. So having the experience right now is men who commit domestic violence, they've been sent to a group that speak predominantly English. So our current men are very submissive. They go there, they're quiet, they listen, and they come home, and nothing changed. So having a men domestic violence group facilitator who speak the language, who understand the culture, that will really help our men to create a healthy families. So with the outreach, our community is still very new. We came from a very oppressive, government. So we don't really know much about the political, system or structure in this country. We are right now a passive, participants, passive, citizens. So our community still need a lot of, understanding, the training, the knowledge about the political system here. But we have informal web of volunteer organization, churches, Buddhist temples that and or individual leaders who are very engaged and working together for the common goods of our communities. And if you want to contact our current communities, it might be challenged, but I would like to welcome for you to explore KOM leadership. Want to welcome, in case you want to contact with the current community, we are welcome the opportunity to be the bridge that connect you to our current communities. And thank you, and I welcome your question or comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jutai, right?
Sajun.
Yes. Mr. Sajun, and I did work on a few bills on getting appropriation for outdoor education for the Karen community too, and I think that thank you for bringing that driver license issue, so maybe we can work on it this year. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. My question is, if members of the Karen community that graduate high school have trouble going straight into the workforce or to college, what's the biggest obstacle to vocational training that you see? In other words, what are the barriers that prevent them from moving the direction they want to go?
I think,
Mr. Hachun?
Yes, the biggest barrier would be getting into where the resource is. Right now, we have young people who really want to do something, but then they don't know where the resources are. Partly because the language barrier, system barrier. So I think those are the barriers.
Okay. Yes, Representative Omar.
Thank you so much for sharing the information about your community. I really resonate with a lot of the struggles that you guys are going through. As a Somali immigrant, my community went through a lot of the similar struggles. They still are going through a lot of the similar struggles. I'm curious about what what is the size of the current organization of Minnesota? How many employees do you guys have? How many people are working for the organization?
We have 27 employees, and 2 of them are down in Marshall, our self-organization down in Marshall. So 25 here in St. Paul. We're located on Rice Street in Roseville.
So it looks like it's a large organization. When we're talking about access to resources, how can we support the organization in creating better access to resources? What are specific things you're looking at from a body like ours to do for you?
I think there are a lot of resources out there, but they're not culturally competent to our population, to our community. For example, when we talk about domestic violence, or when we talk about family issues, we know that there are a lot of resources out there, but they don't have Korean-speaking staff, or they don't know who the Korean people are. So it's hard for them to provide appropriate services to a community. So a lot of time at KOM, we do have a family advocate person that we refer people out to appropriate services. But we want to make sure that those service providers are competent in working with our population. So, which means that we, if possible, right now we have only 0.5 FTE staff that working in that particular issues, family issues. So, and it's when you talk about 30, 40 cases, it's a lot. You need to go to court, you need to go see, go to different appointments, and 0.5 is not enough. I'm talking about the resources also from my side to be able to provide services to 30, 40 families or individuals that are facing that challenges. So, yeah.
It's helpful, thank you.
Representative Flanagan, do you know? Oh, yeah. Representative, can you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Peggy Flanagan. I'm a state representative from District 46A, which is St. Louis Park, Golden Valley, Plymouth, and Medicine Lake. And I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you, Senator Herr, for bringing us all together today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Taku and Mr. Hanju. Thank you very much for your testimony. We'll revisit the issue that you mentioned later. Yeah. Next is the Somali community. Mr. Dariye.
Senator Fong, as they're coming up, Senator Carlson is here.
Yes, please introduce yourself, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jim Carlson, and I represent the cities of Eagan and Burnsville, Senate District 51 in the South Metro. So thank you very much for all of your stories and for coming and participating tonight.
Hey, sorry to cut the next few speakers short, but if you can limit the time, we're going to cut in half. We said 10 minutes for the early group, but hope, I know this is not fair, but try to see if you could shorten your presentation as you can. And if we have extra time, we'll get you back on the testimony table.
Oh, absolutely. I will make it short. I will cut it short. So, my name is Mustafa Diriye. Mustafa, M-U-S-T-A-F-A. Last name Diriye, D-I-R-I-Y-E. And I am a community activist, also a member of an organization. It's called Students for Education Reform, which is advocate equality education in public schools in the state of Minnesota throughout the state. I want to thank you, the chair, Rina, and my senator, Pepe. And I also want to thank you, all of you. And I want a special thank you to Ilhan, sister. I'm really excited by seeing you here. It's great encouragement for my community and inspire a lot of young girls in the community. So thank you so much for what you have done. And all right, I will get the point. So I will make a few points. So let me start with myself. We often see in Somali community, and many of you have never been drink with me or tea or sambusa, but you listen a lot of us in Fox and CNN and MSNBC. You have a lot of information who we are. But that deeply, nobody knows that except a few. So if you want to know more about my community, and you have, I will, at least in my personal story, will give you little lights what we go through and who we are. So more of, I will based on my personal and also a few points that I will make. My name is Mustafa, like I said, and then I came to the United States in 1996 as a refugee. And 1996, as you know, 1991, we have a civil war in Somalia. And prior to that, we have a 2-year war that a lot of people don't know, which started in 1988, actually. The civil war in Somalia started in 1988 in the north side of Somalia. And the entire institution collapsed. Everybody ran away wherever direction they could. I ran away with my younger two brother and sister, and my older brother. And 4 of my brothers, one was killed in Mogadishu. He was 27 years old, and 3 was missing at that time. So we walked all the way we went to Kenya, and then we collect each other. We find after that. And I spent the first 4 years, 4 years and a half in the refugee camp in Otanga, and then. Then 1996, I moved here in California, San Jose. I spent there 8 months, and then I followed my brother. So like so many people wondering why Somalis in Minnesota, we don't have a lot of options sometimes because of the refugee. They sell you wherever they want it, and Catholic Charities, so so many other organizations, they assign you state or city. You expecting will be 90, 80 degrees, and then you see the 40 below zero. So you have no actually any option but just to live there. And the second wave of my community arrived after that because of the people are saying that, Minnesota, so they hear a lot of good things. And people find jobs, which is the things that brought, and the mosque, we built right away, we organized, and we have a place to pray in faith. And also the education system that time we believe in was really one of the best, so many people. So we're trying to get all those. So those are the things that we brought us here. And so I did not graduate high school in Somalia, but I tried to get here, and then I was over 18, 20, 21. So then I went to GED. I went to the adult school where I get my GED. And then I work 2 jobs, and then I continue paying my tuition. I take 1 year in a college, and then I continue. So I graduated in Metro State University of Bachelor of Political Science and minor of Community Organizing. So I did that in 3 jobs, sometimes 2 jobs plus of school. And now I am currently an organized outreach student for education reform. So that's my background, and I'm married, and I live in St. Paul. And my community stories is, like I said before, I started in a refugee. But my issue that I want to share with you is that also the challenging. My community have a lot of challenges, which is basically as a discrimination and poverty and housing. Discrimination is the number one is Islamophobia. We have a lot of Islamophobia, and when you have violence of few people, and you brush all of that in a lot of the communities, that's hurtful, and that hurts the purpose and the way of life, disrupt the way of life of my community, and a lot of distress out. And CVE, which is the biggest Islamophobia, I personally believe, up there, and the kind of violent extremist, and that is one way to dehumanize and segregate my community. L9, I am community organization. I am the field. Every single day I talk to the parents. And when I ask those kind of issue, they tell me their story. And it's very hard to explain and the mother and say like your son, they feel like they're coming to me and they tell me their kids have been watching. Is that true, Mustafa? What is going on? I mean, anybody after my community and my kids. So those are the challenges that I hope you see and address of this issue. Another issue my community face is education. As you know, majority of the people, my community, coming with little or small of language. But there, a lot of them are graduate high school or have a higher degree, but the language barrier. And those are also the issue when the younger ones go to the school, they feel a lot of discrimination, bullying. I went throughout the state. I went to St. Cloud, Mankato, Apple Valley, many of the surrounding cities. And when I talk to the parents, many issue is a discrimination. Kids being called names, and most of you will know also what's going on the atmosphere today in the media, and those people taking those to the extreme, and a lot of kids are being bullied a lot. And housing is another issue my community faces, because a lot of them are getting in house that has been let or have a lot of illnesses. And kids are also getting like asthma, and so poor housing, also another issue. And so that is part of the issue that my community faces. And
Mr. Derrier, I'm sorry, the fault is on me because I, allowed a little extra time for those earlier speakers. So. If you can sum up and then see if anybody have a question, then we'll just move on to the next group. Yes, Representative Hornstein.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you minored in community organizing. That's great. That's my background. But I had a question for you, and we also had this come up when Mr. Kadiwoda testified. You mentioned discrimination have you or your community, do you know examples when you've been discriminated in public contracting work? Tomorrow I'm going to be introducing an amendment in the state government bill to stop discrimination in state contracts. Have you had any evidence of this kind of discrimination?
Yes. I will share you my personal story, which usually I don't really share it, but I will, if I get the opportunity, I will share with you. When September 11 happened, I work in downtown a company, and I was a student, or one of my supervisors asking me a question. He said, "Mustafa, do you go to school?" I say, "Yes." And he said, what do you go for?" Instead of I answering, he said, "How to make bombs." And then my manager and everybody started laughing at me. And that's my personal story. And I'm sure a lot of people have those kind of issue. And the other issue people that I share with is like a prayer time. I mean, when you have a prayer, we have obligated as a Muslim, and we are deeply faith community, and we take a pride, our religious, and we want an obligation to pray. So some of them employers, they do not give that time, or if they do, they haven't put a lot of restrictions. It's very hard the people to follow.
Thank you. Yes, Senator.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair Herr. We were just having a little discussion here. I'm hoping maybe you can help us. You mentioned that I think you said CVE, and we were trying to determine what that was. And if you could, and did you say it's hurtful?
Yes.
Yes. Could you kind of explain a little bit about what CV is and what it does and what's hurtful?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's the counter-violent extremism. So basically, it's how you combat violent extremism, how you prevent it, somebody to become radical. So basically, I believe is the Obama administration era brought up that, and Andy Lugar, which is Andy Lugar continue funding for that. So basically what is hurtful is that they put all the Somali youth to be watched and to be labeled as a terrorist. That means they are going to be a terrorist. We know this black, brown, Muslim refugee is going to be a terrorist, so we have to find a way to stop it, which is really a false narrative. It's not. If people want to help my community, I said before, Somali community don't need handouts. They need opportunity. If you want to give my community and you care, all you have to do is build a rec centers where they can have it, do their homework, and also have opportunity to play. And I was coaching in high school, and I was in Roseville High School 4 years in soccer. So when I take my students to the Andover or and other suburbs, kids like, whoa, look at this school, look at what they have. And I bring back to the Roseville, and we don't have any equipment the way they do. So if people want to help, invest in the community, and the Somali people are very resilient. People who can here 30 years now, less than that, still testimony. We have a first representative, and we have a people who running the city council. We are very active, very entrepreneurship spirit. We work for hard, for little or nothing sometimes, and we never complain. We continue to fight and fight against all odds. So at least what we want is to that support and stand with us. And I will finish for you. My dad always say nobody cares how much you know unless they know how much you care. So you show the youth of the Somali community that you care and stand up with us and be next to us, not behind us, not in front of us, next to us. We can take that lead. We know how to lead. We have been resilient community. We know how to get jobs done. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Lilly.
Thank you, Senator. I just love our jobs because we get to hear, people like you and others come forward. But I heard from one of your community leader here, Representative Omar, a very profound thing this year where she kind of snapped my thought of what I knew to be true or whatever to, stretched me, where she said, and maybe you both can speak about some of your folks in your community kind of faced what it was called like a triple threat. And I just thought that was really, and maybe one of you could speak about that just really briefly, because I think that is unique. And and we obviously want all these, everybody to succeed, but it's an additional barrier. So I just thought it was really
sure. Yes, I mean, thank you. Yes, triple threat is I'm a black, I'm a Muslim, I'm a refugee. So somehow I will be banned as a refugee. I'm not coming. I'm a Muslim. I'm a terrorist. I'm a black, and then I'll get shot if I just walk in the wrong place. Basically, that's what it is. And then I personally see that, and then I will collaborate with this. When I'm going to share these stories because this opportunity I can share with you many things that. And me, when I engage to my wife, and we say like, let's hunt a house. So I was in Roseville where the Philando Castillo was killed. That area, and there was a cop behind me, and I opened my window, and he come after me, and he say, "What are you doing here?" That's the first question he asked me. Not why he stopped me, not my identification, and then that was the first question he asked me. So that is what triple threat means to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Derrier. So. We're probably going to go over time. I want to see if my fellow legislator would eye with me on extending the time to 30 more minutes. Is that okay? All right. So all in favor, just say aye then. All in favor? Aye. All right, good. All right. So let's go next to the Karen Nee American Community. I think the King Thai owner is also here. Welcome, Mr. Wei Ling. Please introduce yourself for the record and go ahead, proceed with your testimony.
My name is Wei Lin, W-A-I, first name, last name, L-I-N-N. And I'm a member of the Karenni community. My current job is as a career counselor with Resource in Ramsey County. Today, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Also, thank you to particular Senator Paul and Senator Maron. And I also would like to say thank you for your interest, and present here, Senator Mari. To just begin with my presentation this afternoon, just want to talk about the Karenni. Karenni, it's also known as a Kayali in our own dialect and language. It is one of the ethnic groups from Burma, which is located in Southeast Asia, eastern of Burma, and also kind of northwest of Thailand. So reason that we came to Minnesota, there are numbers of factors, but the main factor is the ethnic identity preservations and also political identity preservation throughout the British colonization in Southeast Asia. The Karenni people strongly maintain presence in the state of Karenni states pre-colonization periods and also during the colonization in Burma, Southeast Asia. British even recognized the state of Karenni or the territory of Karenni as an independent state. However, this independent state was lost to the Burmese after the British left Burma. In 1948, the Karenni people are in war with the Burmese invader into the Karenni states in 1948. As a consequence of this war, the Karenni people became internally displaced people in the states, in our own state and territory. And as the war went on throughout the Karenni states, and we were no longer be internally displaced people, but became internationally displacement refugees, and myself included. When I left my country, when I was 8 years old, and grew up in Thailand. So that was the story that why we became refugees and why we came to Minnesota. We survived based on the international humanitarian assistance for more than 2 decades, and eventually, because of there was no ceasefire agreement between the Burmese government and the Karenni Armed Resistance Group. So eventually, in 2005, the Western country, particularly the country of the United States, offered an opportunity for the Karenni people to resettle in the United States. About 10,000 Karenni people have been resettling in the United States since 2009. That's during the economic recession. It was so difficult to get a job and also get a public assistant without the language assistant in the state that they are resettling in. However, the Karenni population are small, but we are very resilient and we work hard to take any job. And more people become comfortable with their income and buying housings, living in St. Paul and also the city of Austin, Minnesota. So those are the 2 main cities that the Karenni people are living right now. And the key issues that we are facing right now, I think lots of people are still confused about our identity as a Karenni. When we say Karenni, is always confused with other fellow ethnic groups from Burma, Karen. Well, historically, we came down from Mongolia at the same tribe as the Karen tribe, but realistically, because of the kingdom was set up in the Karenni states, then we have our own kingdom. That was the modern political identity. So, to make short to the point, so when this confusing identity creating a language confusion as well, when we say we need Karenni interpreter at a hospital or clinic, they are going to request a language that is not relevant to our dialect or our own language. So that's also one of the key issues that I want to point out here. Other issue is, of course, as a newly arrived in this country, the law and regulation in this country is very sophisticated. It's not really well understanding, even though we understand English is not well function in our head. When people face criminal charges, doesn't matter petty misdemeanor or misdemeanor or felonies, still have a lot of struggle at court because they just won't accept the plea unless they understand the legal system, and that's kind of going on and on. I may not be able to provide a solution. I will depends on expert to do research on those situations and how to come up with a solution in terms of dealing with the newly arrived refugees and immigrants who don't understand the legal system in this country. I hope there will be some solution in the short term for the senior generation or the generation that can't understand English or can't speak English. Another issue is the Karenni or other people who have been here for 5 years. A lot of people are also struggling with the citizenship application. Without understanding English language, nobody is going to pass the civic test. So this is also another concern issue because becoming a citizen and have the right to vote for the representative and senators, and all these things are very crucial to our political rights and also civil liberty in this country. So these are the things that I just want to point out right this time. So I have a lot of beliefs, but I just want to stop these key issues. So in terms of how to engage with the community, I have some ideas. I think based on the confusion of the ethnic identities and or other stuff. So this, I believe that if any public institutions or agency that work with refugee population, at least if we trying to have, we introduce a mechanism that everybody trying to get a refreshment on cultural diversity workshop or training on each ethnic group identity and political background, that will be clear up the confusion and the misunderstanding. So I think that will be all my presentation this afternoon, and I will open up to all the senators and representatives to have more questions, and I will be follow up with that. Thank you.
I'll start off with the first question. How different of a written language is Korean and Koreanese?
It is like Laos and Hmong.
Okay. Completely different.
Completely different.
Thank you. Good question.
So I started to take on you like this.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, Representative.
Again, I guarantee you that, here I am. Oh, I'm sorry, the voice is here.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. I'll make sure that HCMC is aware of the differences and that the translators are there.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I was curious about, so I was not familiar with the difference between the Karenni population and the Karen, and I noticed that it talks at the bottom of the page of this handout that we have that Karenni have tended to settle in areas of the state with high Karen populations. I'm just wondering what the mechanism is for that. Is like what reason is it that the groups are settling in the same locations? Is it because of I guess I'm just trying to understand what the reason is for that, if you understand the question.
Well, I believe it is the connection, because we're still from the same country, and we also have an interrelationship with the Korean, fellow Korean. I have lots of Korean friends. I myself do speak Korean, so and I am the first person who arrived in the state of Minnesota, and that's how my friendship connections with the Korean people, that's how we get them resettled here. So I also live side by side with the fellow Korean friends, and that's how we get people together in the same community.
Representative Lee.
Thank you. So this is more towards Senator Nelson and Representative Moran. Thank you both for including data disaggregation in the education bill and for authoring it in the House too. And I think that the community members that have came out today have shown us why we at the state legislature need to be more aware that even within the Asian American community, we have different ethnic groups and there's different needs, and really appreciate your effort here in the Senate and Representative Moran for your leadership in the House. Thank you.
And a pure example to that is my faux pas, not being able to distinguish between the Korean and the Koreanese. You know, and my roots are going back to Southeast Asia, where we're neighbor to each other too. So Representative Moran, Representative Omar. Right.
People often confuse us, so I'll let that one fly. Okay, I'm wondering what the different languages are called for the people of Karen and for Karenni. Are they the same as the? Is it Karenni and Karen, the languages as well?
Again,
from the two groups, the Karen group and the Karenni group.
It is completely different languages.
What are the languages called?
The language that we will call in Karenni is sort of more a political umbrella or name. And under that, the majority of the population in that state is going to be Kayali. So we will be speaking the Karenni Kayali language.
So the language would be called Kayali?
Karenni Kayali language.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you. Let's go to the next testifier. Thank you, Mr. Wading, and we'll go to the next testifier from the Liberian American community, Mr. Volke Freeman. Oh, Miss Volke Freeman, my apology. And please state your name for the record. Welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, members of the State Senate and House of Representatives, commissioners, and other elected officials here, as well as our community members who are here. Good evening. My name is Volke Freeman, and I am the Assistant City Manager for the City of Brooklyn Park. Today, I sit here to represent the thousands of Liberians who call Minnesota home. I'm deeply grateful and honored to be invited to participate today, and I want to thank you for this opportunity. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that no matter how in tune a person is or embedded within a certain community, no one person can speak for that entire group. The Liberian community is not homogeneous. It's complex, comprising of many similarities, as well as many ethnic and cultural differences. And so for my remarks today, I did solicit input from other community leaders from the Liberian diaspora community, so my comments will reflect that. For those who may not be familiar with where Liberia is, it's located on the west coast of Africa. It is a small country, about 4.5 million now in population, and it's roughly the size of Tennessee, just in terms of geography. Surprising to many, the story of Liberians in Minnesota goes as far back as the mid-1950s. The majority of the first Liberians who arrived in Minnesota came here as students seeking higher education. Many of them including my father, obtained scholarships to attend the University of Minnesota to study mining, mineral engineering, and other fields, and then they returned home to Liberia to practice in those professions. Quite a few of them stayed here, and the population of Liberians in Minnesota grew steadily as others joined them in the 60s and 70s, while Liberia continued to enjoy a status of stability and serving as a refuge for nationals from various African, Middle Eastern, and Asian countries that were fleeing conflict themselves and persecution and seeking a more peaceful and prosperous life. But beginning in 1980, that peaceful status changed dramatically, and the first dispersal of Liberians out of their homeland occurred following a coup d'etat in April of 1980, where the sitting president was assassinated and the government was overthrown. Many of the people who were forced to flee found their way to the East Coast and southern region of the United States, and a number of them settled in Minnesota, welcomed by the Minnesota community and the growing Liberian diaspora. An attempted coup d'etat in 1985 caused another round of departures of Liberians, and again, another wave came to Minnesota. But the greatest mass exodus of Liberians, of at least 1 million Liberians, began in 1989 because of the Liberian Civil War, or wars, depending on who you speak with, but there were several conflicts that persisted for about 14 plus years and caused major loss of life, hundreds of thousands of lives lost during that time. During those turbulent years, as you can imagine, many children lost their childhood, adults lost their livelihood, the conflicts decimated the schools, hospitals, roads, basically all of the infrastructure of the country, as much of the infrastructure. For those who could escape, the majority ended up in neighboring countries and in refugee camps, and many sought resettlement in the West, in the United States. And partly due to Minnesota's thriving economy in the 90s and the history of the nonprofits and groups that were experienced in resettling refugees, Minnesota was one of the few states that hosted Liberian refugees. And so news of Minnesota's warm hospitality and the availability of decent paying jobs, the rigorous school systems, as some of the previous speakers talked about, and the growing Liberian community spread throughout the diaspora. And so Liberian refugees and immigrants continued to arrive in droves, despite this frigid climate that could not be farther from the Liberian tropical climate. So many of us found ourselves here today, and we can be found now in the northwest suburbs, the two Brooklyns, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Crystal, New Hope, as well as St. Paul and other suburbs. And we found ourselves through unfavorable circumstances to leave Liberia, but that's not the entire story. Our story is also one of resilience and strength. We've survived coups, wars, we survived the Ebola epidemic, and we still have hope. We've been able to rebuild our lives as refugees in a foreign country. Though we are resilient and hopeful for the future, we do face challenges. Yet, as we think of the challenges faced by members of the Liberian American community, I would encourage all of you to focus on our assets rather than our deficits. Typically, policymakers and government agencies rarely ask what assets we have in our communities and what we have to offer. Many times we approach critical issues from that frame, resulting in developing strategies that are designed to save and solve issues, as opposed to really uncovering what can be preserved, grown, and amplified. From that perspective, the Liberian American community is an enterprising community that contributes greatly to the vitality of Minnesota. We continue to enrich the culture through our music, art, through introducing new culinary tastes. We've purchased homes, we have diversified our schools and cities, and Liberians are employed in many industries and sectors, and especially provide much-needed services in the healthcare field. We also have many small businesses that have created employment in the community. And those stories of our entrepreneurs is one of sheer grit and hustle, because many of them are micro-entrepreneurs, And they are challenged to find the resources and the funding mechanisms that are culturally specific to the ethnic model of doing business in order to build wealth within our community. Now, with the deep family and economic roots that many Liberians have planted in Minnesota, we still have a large population of our community who are still on temporary immigration status after all this time. Thousands of Liberians were granted temporary protected status, or TPS, because of the Liberian civil conflict. Others were placed on TPS because of the Ebola epidemic. And temporary protected status expires in May of 2017. In 2007, President George W. Bush changed, there was a transition from the temporary protected status to what is called deferred enforced departure, or DED, because at that time, Liberia was not ready to receive the thousands of diaspora Liberians back into the country. And though Liberia right now enjoys relative peace, the country still is unable to integrate so many repatriates into the country. But the renewal of DED is a presidential prerogative. President Obama renewed DED until March of 2018. And so many Liberian families find themselves in a limbo and depend on TPS and DED to provide for their families. But the future of both of those statuses is uncertain at this time. And many lives will be affected if those statuses are not renewed or Liberians are not granted permanent residency. And so this tenuous and unstable existence related to immigration status contributes to many of the unresolved traumas that members of our community have faced due to the civil conflicts, the Ebola crisis, and then even historical traumas. And so many of us do suffer from a lack of culturally appropriate services to help with mental health, as well as resources for individuals, our seniors, and our families to develop healthier relationships and continue to build resilience. As with some of the other new American communities that have traditionally been and underrepresented, we have other challenges related to domestic violence and trafficking, teenage pregnancy, quality and affordable housing inequities, access to living wage employment, homelessness, underemployment, and of course, opportunity gaps that exist for our young people in schools. And so in order to be responsive to the needs of our community, what we would ask of policymakers is to build relationships with our community and to get to know us. Despite our large population, how many Liberian Americans can be found in elected officials' offices as aides and in other roles? Better still, how many of us can be found in policymaking entities, including state and city government, or as elected officials ourselves? Increasing capacity for our community organizations that do community organizing and engagement is also critical. Investing in both providing the urgently needed services and then empowering people with the knowledge and capacity on how to navigate the systems and impact those systems is what will be sustainable for us. For example, we have various organizations in the northwest suburbs that are doing that great work.
And Ms. Freeman, I'm sorry to cut you short, but if you could wrap it up.
All right. Thank you. And just one other point would be to look at engaging volunteers on an ongoing basis, like creating positions, even if there are non-voting positions, where people who may not have citizenship can be appointed to boards and councils to be able to work with their communities as well, as a way to learn how the systems work, as well as investing in our youth and programs that will support and empower our youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Freeman. Any question from listener? Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Senator Fong. Wookie, thank you for driving all the way from Brooklyn Park to this wonderful city of St. Paul. I drive that truck every day. I'm wondering if you could send us, thank you for your testimony, and the words and the knowledge in there is impressive, and I would like you to share those electronically with everybody here if there's a chance for doing that. Matter of fact, Fong, if Senator Hur, if people have got that, I'd like to get, something composed together as far as electronically.
We do have people that did send writing statement to us, and we will not have time to get everybody's oral statement, but do send my office your letter, and we'll make sure that all listening legislators here will receive them. So. If there's no other question, thank you, Ms. Freeman, and we'll move on to the Turkish American community. Mr. Toka Myserli, if I say that right.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, welcome, and state your name for the record.
Tolga Mısırlı, T-O-L-G-A, and M-I-S-I-R-L-I. I am the Executive Director of Turkish American Society of Minnesota and Niagara Foundation, Minnesota's chapter. There are, thank you. This one and this one, both of them. Yeah. So those organizations, they are founded by Turkish Americans. And then Turkish American Society of Minnesota founded in 2004. And since then, we are having events to gather people from different backgrounds and share something. Turkish Americans believe there are three enemies of humanity. They are poverty, ignorance, and disunity. And we try to organize events, and we contribute to communities that we are living in to cure or to help or diminish those the effects of those three enemies. So according to this brief thing, and then the mission of, by the way, Mr. Chairman, I will be done in 10 minutes. The mission of Turkish American Society of Minnesota is to enrich the life of every Minnesotan. So we are thinking big by engaging them in cultural, educational, interfaith dialogue, and humanitarian relief activities inspired by the Turkish culture. So we set our mission like this, and we try to work to reach that. And then the vision is we want to be a leading organization that promotes cultural, religious, ethnic diversity through mutual understanding and charity in Minnesota. So we are able to purchase a building. We want to use this building as a cultural center in Columbia Heights, and we try to reach first the people living in Columbia Heights, then Ramsey County, Anaco County, and we try to reach everybody in Minnesota. Somehow that's why I am sending emails to representatives and the senators. Please read them and don't make it spam. I appreciate that. So according to those three enemies, Tasman has three committees that working under the board of Turkish Americans. They are cultural enrichment and education, interfaith dialogue, and humanitarian relief. By doing that, I want to show this flyer that we had an event called, this is actually the 9th annual Abrahamic Traditions Dinner in Mount Zion Temple. And then we invite 3 speakers, and then they share something. Their ideas, their concerns, and they wanna learn each other. So our activities, arts and language classes, we are offering the only institution in Minnesota offering Turkish language classes. Also, we offer Iranian. And we have a very diverse student background, like a Methodist clergy, and then the Iranian lady try to learn Turkish, and so many Minnesotans, they want to learn Turkish. And we are organizing cooking classes if you want to learn how to cook in Turkish style. And I'm sure they are delicious. And if you look at me, you see that how delicious Turkish food is. We are planning to offer free ACT, SAT courses. We are working on this. We did this 2 years ago, but due to the lack of volunteers, we are not able to do that now, but we are planning to offer free tutoring or, for students. Also, we make a scholarship fund, and then to those masters or, undergrad students who wants to get education in Minnesota. Last year, we organized a children's festival, and then we want to do it this year. So I want to address the leaders of the communities here. If they want to help us to organize this children's festival, please see me. I have so many business cards, and then I need your help to make this festival happen again this year. Under interfaith dialogue activities, we organize dialogue iftar dinner. So last year we were in the First Columbia Heights Church, and it was 12th annual dialogue iftar. And then we invited the president of Hindu Temple, Hindu Society of Minnesota, Dr. Sani. He gave a speech about, how Hinduism, approach, being away from food and drink. And this is like our, effort to fight against disunity and ignorance. As I said, I showed the flyer for 9th annual Abrahamic Traditions Dinner in Mount Zion Temple. Also, we organize State House receptions. I want to thank Senator Pappas for being and hosting us in every year. We organized a 9th annual State House reception. We want to make an environment for Turkish people to meet with elected officials. We were there in the lobby, and I realized that this chair is a lot hot than over there. We will do next year. I will invite you again. If you have time, please come and join and enjoy reception. We have also Three Faiths at the Table project. The purpose of this project is to make people friends. One couple from each culture or religion, they come together at each other's home. So Niagara Foundation and Turkish Society of Minnesota matching those couples, and we are introducing them each other, and we expect them to visit each other's home. So it is the commitment of the participants. If anybody interested in here to want to join this project or want to know more about it, please see me. Under the humanitarian relief, we have food shelves and disaster reliefs. 2 years ago, we participate the blanket drive for Syrian refugees in Turkey. Right now, we are working on the water well project in Africa. We raised $400 approximately in last Abrahamic Traditions dinner to help the water well project. And then all our events are free and open to public, but we require RSVP. And then we try to make a diverse dinner table or lunch table, depending, and we want people to know each other. This is our website. You can find more info, or you can see me. I finish in 10 minutes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you did, Mr. Lee. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And
thanks for this opportunity.
Senator Pappas.
Senator, just briefly, Tolga, you talked a lot about your activities, but you didn't tell us too much about the Turkish American community itself in Minnesota, because you're really not a refugee community, you're an immigrant community.
Yeah.
So how large is it?
Actually, the numbers saying that it is between 1,000 and 2,000. So they are all spread. So we have community members in Rochester, in St. Cloud, and Duluth. So one of the Turkish-American lady discovered a new planet galaxy in Duluth, like University of Minnesota. Her name is Burçin. So it is all spread. Also divided. Turkish-American community in Minnesota divided. Due to the political conflict in Turkey right now, we are having difficulty to reach Turkish-American communities here in Minnesota, in Twin Cities. They are not like as large as Somali community or Karen or Hmong community, but we are trying to bring more investors here in Minnesota. Turkish Americans living in Florida, California, and Boston area, we want to encourage them to invest here and to live here. We are working on this. Thank God, like last 2 winters helped us a lot. But, you know, there are some question marks in people's minds. But we try to get bigger here. So we try to attract some students here, getting education, and we encourage them to find a job here and stay. Thanks, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Toga. And please, I'll encourage you to continue to bring more investors to our state as well.
Yeah, we are trying, Mr. Chair.
You. We're going to dedicate the last 10 minutes for 3 people, if people can. So thank you. Thank you. And and these are people that we didn't have on the list, but they're signed up to talk. There's a lot more, but we decided that we're just going to allow just 3. And so we have here Sonia Romero from Dreamer, and Ernesto Velez from Central Cupertino, and Dr. Bruce Corey. And Dr. Bruce, why don't you come? Do you have a PowerPoint presentation too, or just a handout? Okay. So after they're done, then you can just come up. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi. My name is Ernesto Velez. I'm from an organization called Centro Campesino. We are based out of Owatonna, Minnesota. And we've been a nonprofit organization serving and working the immigrant and migrant Latino community across our Minnesota since the year 2000. So we're closing to our 20-year life of the organization. And as I said, you know, we've been doing this work with the immigrant and migrant community that lives in rural Minnesota. And I make the difference because we have, in our community in Minnesota, since the early 1900s, we had a culture and a relationship with the Latino community that lives in southern Texas and the northern border, which also they happen to have or enjoy status. So most of them are either U.S. citizens or permanent residents in the country, and that's how they can basically travel right from the state of Texas to come to Minnesota during the season, and been doing so for, well, over 100 years now. As I said before, you know, the organization did start working with the migrant community from Texas back in the years 1997, and as things have progressed, well, we have done all kinds of work, from passing legislation with the support of some of you guys present here who have been sitting in these chairs for a while, protecting basically migrant agricultural workers in Montgomery. And then our work really has evolved, just like our community, our Latino community has evolved in the state of Minnesota for the past, at least, I guess, 15 years that I almost been working at the same organization. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit of what the changes that I've seen, at least in the past 12 years across rural Minnesota. For one, you know, in the entire state of Minnesota, we're almost 300,000 Latinos. So we're about 270,000 if, you know, we have an accurate count. I want to say it's more than that. The other piece with that is that at least a third, so almost 33% of them do live in rural Minnesota. And as we know, rural Minnesota, it's pretty wide. I recently took a trip, I would say an organizing trip to Worthington. And my colleague, who was her first trip to Worthington, and we did it in one day, right? You drive in the morning, you come back in the afternoon. In the drive back, she basically said, we need to start thinking about having a small plane. Because, you know, covering rural Minnesota, it's a task. Driving from Worthington to, for example, Red Wing, where we're, you know, the next day we basically had a leadership training. It's a 3.5-hour drive. It's a lot of mileage to cover, and that's where, you know, at least 1/3 of these rural Latinos are living, working, sending their kids to school, and basically, you know, calling Minnesota home. With that, too, you know, these families are also divided in many different ways. One of them is the generational gap or the generational divide. I myself, for example, I don't know what I'm considering myself because I got here in the year 2001, so I wasn't born here. I'm originally from Mexico. My father also was not born here, but he immigrated in 1982 and became a naturalized citizen in 1994. That's how I became a U.S. resident. At the same time, for example, my family itself, through the immigration process, my sister still has not received her documents, even though she was in the same package in 1994. So you guys can do the math. 2017? It's been a few years since my sister hasn't gotten her status, and that's just the case of my family, right? I can go on with many different families, but essentially we can have up to 5 different statuses in a single household of a Latino family. And that just creates a lot of, different complex and different interesting situations. One of them that I actually do see a lot and hear a lot through the youth work that we do is that sometimes in these shifts, because the status really does become a privilege, there's certain responsibilities in the household that are shifted. And so our community has to respond and has to, operate in a different way. Probably the case that I know the most is one of our youth who has been working with us since he was 12. And through the years, essentially now that, well, not now, he's 19 now. I forget how old he is. But when he became 16, he turned 16. Essentially, he was the single person in his family that had a driver's license. So picking up family members, driving family members, having a job, among other things, for a 16-year-old teenager in Owatonna, Minnesota, became, his role in the family. And once again, that's just one example out of almost 300,000 rural Latinos that we live in the state of Minnesota.
Mr. Velez, since there's 3 of you, I'd like to cut you short.
Oh yeah, I'm actually moving on, and I'll finish up. I'll let them finish. So the last thing that I want to say is that also within this community, we also do have the largest working force in the state of Minnesota. Most of our community or most of our youth are under the age of 25. So if we keep up with the thinking of making Minnesota the best workforce by 2020, I think investing in the rural Latino community, it's a wise idea.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for extending some time for us to be here and speak with you today. I received this invitation very last minute. I am not sure why Latinos are not in the audience today. It seems there are very few of us. But anyways, I have worked with Centro Campesino for a few years now, I'd say about 3 now, working in rural Minnesota, from west to east, and I am now currently here in the metro also in different roles here in the metro. I think that moving forward in this state, we need to ask ourselves what kind of results we're looking for as a state economically, and make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind. That's including my community. And the numbers of which he just spoke of. And how do we go about that? I think it's very important, and I also do believe my research shows that the state of Minnesota has many resources available for new Americans. And we need to have people on the ground every single day that are caring about equity work. We need to be contracting a good portion of that work, and we are not. And so I think we really need to work heavily on that. Another thing, our community is very entrepreneurial, so we are not looking for any handouts. We are not looking to be a part of any system that will keep us oppressed or keep us in the conditions that we currently are in. In doing work across the state of Minnesota, I have spoken with many Latinos, especially many Latinas, who are interested in going into entrepreneurship, but have many barriers at many points in accessing resources to start their businesses. And I think, and I'm very passionate about carrying on that kind of work. So I'm interested in seeing, moving forward, what suggestions you might have for me. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sonia Romero. I am a DACA student. I know most of you guys don't know what DACA is. It was signed into a law by President Obama. Well, it's not a law technically, but it could be revoked any time President Trump wants it to be revoked. I've been here since I was 6 months old. I crossed the border with my mom, and DACA has changed my life. I have I was able to go to college. I graduated from Augsburg College in 2014 with a theology degree, which I'm very proud of because it was very hard for me to go to college. And what I would like is for you guys to help the undocumented community, help DACA dreamers. We are the future. We are Minnesota's future. And there's also one question that I would like to raise. If Donald Trump ends up taking away DACA, which could prevent me from going back to Mexico, I never grew up in Mexico. I don't know. I've been here since I was 6 months, and I feel like any other American. How could you guys protect us? How could you guys help us without not being removed from this country that we call our home? Because this is the only country we know.
Thank you, Ms. Romero, and so thank you, three of you, for being able to join us in this last minute roundup of new Americans. And the Hispanic and Latino community, has been here. Many of the community are indigenous to this country, and as a matter of fact. So I'm going to pass the gavel to my co-chair here to conclude. But we're going to think about maybe even host a continuing forum of minority or immigrant population. Someone had, yes, Senator Patricia Torres-Ray.
Thank you, Senator Hurt. I just wanted to say thank you for coming and bringing three different perspectives from the Latino community, clearly about migrant workers, entrepreneurs, and DACA students. I think that this reflects really important connections and important kind of sectors in our community that we need to know about. So I want to say thank you to the chairs, really, for bringing us together to have this conversation. I learned so much today. I think that this was an outstanding presentation from all of you. And we go late here. We stay here for hours, talking 3 in the morning. So this is okay. But what I do want to say is that we need to do this again, and I would like to propose that we perhaps need to kind of figure out how do we do this better so we truly hear from everyone. You will be invited again. I know that many of the members who are here want to participate in this. I was just very inspired by all the members that were here. So perhaps we need to figure out how do we do clusters of communities that can come and present their perspectives. This was incredibly helpful. So thank you for being here, and please don't feel like we didn't hear. We totally did, and we will continue hearing because this is incredibly important to us. So thank you to the chairs for putting this together and inviting us to do this.
And just for the record, I know that we kind of move along, you three, real fast. The person in the middle, can you state your name one more time?
Yes, I apologize. My name is Erica Trevino.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, before I have one question.
Oh, yes, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Senator Hur.
Ernesto, I am aware of the good work that Centrino Campesino does in Rochester and Albert Lee, and I believe Owatonna also. But I don't know what an organizing trip is. What's an organizing trip?
An organizing trip will be where all of you guys next year before the season begins, you get in the bus and you visit Wilmar, you visit St. Cloud, you visit Montgomery, you visit Worthington, you visit Owatonna, then you go to Rochester, then you go to Red Wing, then you come back to the Twin Cities, and in that trip, all of you had a time to talk about the things that you learned today and share, and then maybe come up with some solutions. So an organizing trip for me is, if I'm gonna take a trip to Worthington, which is 3 hours from here, or Owatonna, I'm taking somebody with me because I'm not gonna waste that time. That's an organizing trip. Also, we do have work in Worthington where,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Velez, and I want to talk to you more about that too after this. Yeah. So let's call on Dr. Bruce Corey to conclude, and then I'll pass the gavel to my co-chair to also conclude this New American Forum.
Thank you, Senator Ho. If you are tired and hungry and have to pick up kids like me, I
I just want to thank you and appreciate you all staying for so long to listen to the voices of the community. Gandhi said, well, unless your stomach is full, then you become a philosopher. Since my stomach is empty, you're going to just hear the facts. And so there's no philosophy. But 3 points I want to make quickly. One is there are facts about immigration and the contribution of new immigrants, and I have with you some of the facts from a national organization. The second handout is some facts I put together just today, releasing about, by each legislative district, the assets and the disparities by the African, Latino, Asian, Native American communities in unemployment, in disability, female-headed households, and then their income that represents their buying power and the taxes that they paid. And when we went before the Judicial Redistricting Commission, we asked the judges who will represent these economic interests. And the data that I present to you is the economic interest that each one of you represents. On the other hand, the history, whenever I travel around the world and people are afraid of America, what we are becoming, I would always tell them, come to Minnesota. It will always be open and welcoming. And it's because of people like you, leaders like you, that are continuing to keeping Minnesota alive and in this kind of a forum, listening to the voice of the people. And from the history of Minnesota, you'll see two streams of immigrants, whether it's the Hmong, who started off with poverty as high as 60% and now about 25%, who had homeownership rates of 12% and now have homeownership rates of 45%. The Hmong, who is the chairing Dr. Micah Hung, chairing the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. These are such powerful stories about the contribution of immigrants. And then people like from the Asian Indian community who came via fiber optic cables to solve problems like the Y2K crisis, and who also are playing an important role in the state. So I estimate that the consumer power, just immigrants in Minnesota, is about $7.2 billion. That's a lot of money. If they stop spending, a lot of these businesses would go under, and they pay close to $1 billion in taxes. So when people come and ask for to the legislature, it's a share, and the taxes are by legislative districts in the handout that I gave you. About 8% of the homes, whether it's renting or home ownership in the state, are from immigrants are connected, and about 5.2 businesses and over 220,000 workers. So this community has a lot to offer and continues a lot to offer, and I thank you for being open to listening to the voices that you've heard, very powerful voices, and each one of them have the ability to transform Minnesota in great ways. So thank you very much.
Just want to thank you, too, for being here today, and thank you for your data and your facts. We appreciate them. So we've come to the end, but before we leave out, I just want to, one, thank the New American community for showing up, for the councils to help make this possible in the relationship that you have with the New Americans, but also often enough, you know, as legislators, if we don't hear your voices, if we don't see you, you know, it's hard for us to make decisions around how to best represent you and support you and build on your strengths. So this has been really informative. I know it's been informative for me to hear and learn from you, and that is what we wanted today to be about. This is a first step in us as legislators, creating a space where we can hear from you, build relationships and partnership with you so that we can better represent your voices, your hopes, and your dreams in this body. So we want to thank you so much for coming out. I just want to thank the legislators from the Senate and from the House who showed up and participated in this process. I just want to thank Senator Hurd for having a vision to bring New Americans into this body and allow us to hear and listen. So that helps us to be better at what we need to do for all of Minnesotans. So thank you all, and Ilhan, Representative Omar, have a statement, and we're going to say goodnight.
Thank you. I just, I've been thinking about something as everybody was presenting. I'm a New American, and I think there's oftentimes we are seen as a burden. And your beautiful presentations today talked about what an asset we could be if we're given the right opportunities. And so I thank you all for bringing that, that kind of presence and for infusing this conversation about new Americans and their viability in being one of power and asset. So thank you all. I feel energized by this.
And that's a good closing, because I agree. You know, we heard about the resiliency. We heard about how hardworking the new Americans are. You know, not so much wanting us to come in to save you, but to build on your strengths. I mean, that was heard loud and clear. And so, again, I think we heard you, but we have more hearing to do. And our hope is to continue that relationship going. So thank you, and be safe, and until the next time.